So, we need to talk about repetitive strain injury, also known as RSI. So, this is something that I've had for about 3 years now. And my goal with this video isn't to, it's just not to get sympathy. Like a lot of people on YouTube have made these types of videos where they explain their story and, they get really upset. And of course, it's one of those things that it is upsetting to have. But I want this video to be more of like a warning to you guys because I wish someone told me about this, when I was younger, before I actually started developing symptoms for this. So hopefully this prevents you from getting it. But also at the same time, if you do sort of have the beginnings of this, hopefully I can give you what's worked for me and what hasn't worked for me. I can give you a bit of advice on that matter. So if we look at the definition of RSI, it says an RSI is a soft tissue injury caused by repeated movements or strenuous, prolonged positions, most commonly affecting the hands, wrists, arms, and shoulders. And I have it right here in my right wrist. Also my left wrist too, but not so bad. I guess because when you're using the right wrist, it's more the mouse hand. And if I twist it right now, I can hear click, 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 pop, 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 pop. Like it's constantly going at it, and it feels really. It's not like it hurts. It just feels really uncomfortable. And I definitely never used to have this issue back when I was younger. It's definitely something that's happened as I've gotten older and just from repeated use. So how can this really affect you? So I've got some notes here. One thing that I've had to change is that I can't really work long hours anymore. And what I mean by that is like I used to be able to get in the zone. Like I could spend hours and hours working on 3D models or working on other things. It's just now you have to approach things differently. I have to take way more breaks than what I normally have to do. Concentrating is really hard. That's the one thing. It's hard to concentrate because in like the back of your mind, you're always thinking like, oh, don't injure it. Don't push too far. And so you start getting, it's not like your body has this natural way of telling you when something's wrong, and that's kind of the feeling that RSI gives you constantly. It's super weird how our body works, but I guess that's just how it is. So, like I was saying before, it's more than just pain. It gives anxiety. Like there's been times where even depression too. It's not as common. Like see, I don't know. I have mental things keeping me stimulated, so it's hard for me to be depressed. But sometimes you just feel anxiety for absolutely no reason. It's like when you have a night out and you drink with your mates and you wake up the next day and you are just like, you've got, I call it the scaries. It's like you have like just massive anxiety waves. There's no real reason to be like to have it, but you just get it. That's kind of like what having an RSI is. But in terms of like other things, like I used to be a drummer. So in a band, I'm still a part of the band, but I really, I can't really justify practicing anymore because it gets to the point where it can get really painful. So I've had to pretty much give that up. Weightlifting, I used to love going to the gym and doing weight training. I'm not really that big of a guy, as you can tell. I'm very skinny. I weigh about 60-ish kilos now, but I used to weigh about 65, 66. I used to love bench pressing, squatting, I can't even remember. It's been so long since I've been to the gym. There's the fucking pull one behind your fucking head, the lat pull down or whatever. I used to love doing those. And that's something that I've had to give up due to this RSI. Also gaming too. I used to play Counter-Strike all the time. And that's probably like how it initiated. So when you're playing like these tactical shooters, you're tensing up. And I used to play on sort of high sensitivity compared to my mates who would play on a lot lower. It has its drawbacks and it has its positives and negatives. But as you're playing high sensitivity, you'd find that you're constantly micro adjusting, and that's the type of stuff that can really start an injury. With me, I felt it was more like a combination of things. So, like I'm saying, drumming, it's a very excessive fucking, it's crazy. And the right hand is probably the more primary hand that you would use to, set the tempo with eighth notes and 16th notes. If you're a musician or a composer, you'd understand what that means. And then you combine that with the weightlifting, the gaming, and also what I do for work. I'm not sure if I said this in the video already, but as a 3D modeler artist, as someone like, I know there's like a lot of pens that people use, but I really like using the mouse. It just comes really natural to me. There's a lot of clicking involved and a lot of micro movements and precision that's required. And this injury is one of those things that just develops without you really noticing over time. So, you would go, by the time you feel pain, that's like, it's already almost too late. If you start feeling pain, that means you've already done damage, or most likely already have done damage. And one thing that I did is I wish I didn't, but I sort of pushed through it a little bit. And again, like when you're trying to earn money, like at the time I had a job, right? And I was working full time. And especially being in the games industry where it's really hard to get work, I pushed through it because I wanted to get paid money, and I didn't want to let my boss down. He would have to find another person, and I just didn't want that to happen. Look, over time, it does get a little better. Like I am definitely not at my worst right now. Like there's been times when I've been way worse than what I currently am. To the point where I think at one point I was in bed for like 1.5 weeks, and I just did not want to get out of bed. I would get up only just to eat, and it would be like that. I guess that's when I felt like a true depression. Let's talk about advice that you get, because I feel so let down by the medical system, right? So when I first started getting this pain, I visited the GP, which everyone should do. And the GP pretty much, didn't really have any idea what it could be. So he referred me to a bunch of specialists, and one of them was a rheumatologist, I think, because he thought it was something like in the blood. So, and when you're booking these specialists, it can take, I think it took like 1.5 months to see the guy, and very expensive as well to see him too. So I rocked up to the rheumatologist, and he's like some like 80-year-old guy. You can tell he's starting to lose it, right? He can barely hold a conversation. His hearing's gone. He just doesn't understand when you talk to him. Anyway, so he took a look at me, and the best he could do was run some tests. And those tests itself take a while too. So he ran the test, blood looks fine. There's no sort of virus or nothing, which I didn't think it was that anyway. And that's the real problem. When you don't really know what's wrong with you, and you have to wait weeks upon weeks just to get results on things. And when you're told that, there's nothing wrong, there's nothing wrong here, it just feels so wrong. Like the way our medical system works, everything is just on slow mode. And those weeks are really pivotal, because if you're in the beginnings of like this RSI injury, which I didn't know was an RSI at the beginning, those weeks are probably the most important weeks, in which that if you can stop doing what you're doing, if you can, that's the easiest time to heal, because you're in the beginning of your journey. There isn't as much damage, and it's easier for your body to cope with it. But you're waiting weeks and weeks for results, and you're getting told that everything's okay, and then they're escalating it to the next stage, but things just take so long to happen. And pretty much by the time I got the results by the time I figured out what was wrong with me, what was wrong with my body with the RSI, I felt like it was almost already too late. I was already in so much pain, and that pain is still felt today. It still lingers on. I can still feel it. And that's just what it is. So he sent me then to get an MRI done, which is a good thing, I guess. So I got sent to the MRI place and did the MRI test on both arms. I was feeling pain on both arms at the time. And the results for that also took quite a while. And so I got the results back, and it came back with injuries. I'll have to load up the document. Actually, I do have the document. Let me find it. I'll cut to it. So here's the document of my MRI results. And obviously I'm going to blur out all the parts that are private. But some of the language here is just absolutely crazy. Like neutral apparent ulnar variance within the scanner. On this large field of view, non-dedicated images, there is potentially pinhole perforation in the central TFCC disc and likely partial tearing of the styloid attachment. Trace DRUJ effusion. Very minor synovial thickening is seen adjacent to the TFCC, likely relating to background TFCC pathology. It's pretty crazy. I did have this sort of explained to me by one of the doctors, so I sort of knew I know what's going on. Pretty much just damage on the disc part of the arm. And then also here it mentions about having ganglions, which is interesting. And then it has there on the bottom opinion. No significant joint effusion or synovitis seen. Then number 2, degenerate TFCC with potentially a tiny pinhole perforation on the central disc and likely partial tearing of its styloid attachment, similar to previous. Minor surrounding inflammation / synovitis, and inflammation is actually a good thing. Mild adjacent ECU tendosynovitis, which is perhaps slightly less prominent than previously. 3 tiny dorsal scaphonulate ganglions are not appreciably, I can't even talk, altered, which is very, very interesting. And one thing I want to talk about is I'll load up the other arm, like how the other arm was. Give me 1 second. So my left hand, which obviously isn't as bad as what the right was, it's interesting that it says here, mild ECU tendinosis. So this is very different. So I want to make the comparison. There's a difference between tendonitis, which if you Google repetitive strain injury or like pain in the arm, typically you're going to get like an answer like that. But what I have is the more advanced condition called tendinosis. Tendonitis is like the inflammation of the tendons, and your body creates a shit ton of inflammation, and it's really painful, and that's its way of like preventing you from doing more damage and for it to heal. But what I've got, tendinosis, that's when you push it past that point and you start getting the degeneration of the tendon itself. And those are really hard to heal. Like tendons don't get the same blood flow as what a muscle or bone would get. That's why when you break your arm, it can heal within 3 to 6 weeks or whatever. It can at least get to a point where it starts feeling a little more normal. With tendons, they just don't get that same blood flow, which is unfortunate because it means that recovery is a lot harder. You can't just rely on the body itself to do the repairing for you. You have to take some action. So this is my right arm. On my left arm, similar thing, mild ECU tendinosis. Actually, this one's slightly improved from previously. And that's why my left hand is feeling a lot better. This result was from 2023. So now it's late 2025. So this is a while ago. But my left hand's pretty good now. Like, it does get sometimes here and there pain if you like doing enough typing, but it's workable. The right arm, and that's the arm you got to watch out for. That's the crazy one. So let's talk about how to prevent it first. If you don't have any pain currently, then just make sure to never over push yourself. Take breaks whenever you can. Have an ergonomic setup. There's special mouses, special keyboards that you can buy. I tried a vertical mouse, but I found that it's great, but if you already have this injury, then I wouldn't actually recommend getting it. It just makes it so it's less precise. So if you're trying to aim for a button, if you're just moving your vertical mouse and you're trying to click on something, you're going to find that it's designed to make it easier, but I just found that it's actually more difficult because of the lack of precision. So I just use my regular mouse now, and my keyboard, it's pretty good. It's not the best ergonomic keyboard. I've seen those keyboards that split in half, but I don't think it's truly necessary in my opinion. Just basically the main thing is just take breaks. If I could go tell myself, if I can go to the past and tell myself one thing, take breaks. And good chance that if you're not already familiar with my channel and you're watching this for the first time and you've just clicked on the topic, good chance that you've already got it, or else why would you click on it, So how can you make it better? So what I would recommend is light exercises. Now, I saw a physio and my physio gave me a bunch of exercises that I could do. One thing that I sort of fell into the trap of doing though is sort of overdoing them. So for instance, if it says something like get a stress ball and squeeze it 10 times, and do like 2 sets of that. I really wanted to push my body because I thought doing more would make it better. So I would end up doing, 40 of those, and sometimes it would give me a little bit of pain to do. I thought, that's part of improving. You treat it like if you go to the gym a lot, you sort of think of it as like the gym. That's not a good mindset to have. So you actually got to do the opposite, where it's like you do exactly what the training regimen says, and you don't try to push yourself. Like at one point, I had to do some luckily I had some dumbbells that you can tweak to have like 1 kilo weight or even less. So I had to do a couple of those, like the bicep curls. I would find myself just upping the weight because, I wanted to take advantage of the fact that I could maybe grow some muscle as well. So again, just take it easy. Take it super easy. If you've already got like wrist problems, just less is more. That's probably I wish someone told me that. So I'm going to be telling you guys that, and hopefully this makes a difference. So it is a sucky situation to be in, and mine's probably not going to heal to what I once had, but that's life. You got to move on, right? But yeah, it's not something, if you don't have it, it's not something that you want. It's, again, I'm not trying to get you guys sympathy. I'm just trying to warn you guys. It's not a good feeling. It really does fuck a lot of shit up. Like, motivation to like, again, I work on games. Like, I love doing that. I just can't do it 8 hours a day anymore. It's impossible. So if this is happening to you right now, and you can literally feel the pain in your wrists right now, or anywhere else in the body, it doesn't have to just happen in the wrist, don't lose hope, because there's still plenty of shit you can do in your life. Like, time, just give it time. Time will improve it. It might not make it perfect, but it can get better. You just have to give it time, and you just have to make sure not to overdo it. Just take those breaks. Think about it. Slow down. Actually, yeah, that's perfect. Slow down. And that's the end of the video. I guess I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Got something to expose? Call the Spillato Bros.